enough. And I think the only credible way through for President Trump, if he doesn't want a repeat of the criticism he had under the tariff hokey cokey and him chickening out and so forth, he now has to say enough is enough.
Today was supposedly Donald Trump's deadline for Russia to agree a ceasefire with Ukraine. While nothing has tangibly changed, it does look like we might be seeing a historic meeting, that meeting between Presidents Trump and Putin in the coming days. There's a lot of scepticism about when and where it might take place. That's what the Kremlin says. Here's Trump being asked about it in the Oval Office.
That road was long and continues to be long, but there's a good chance that there will be a meeting very soon.
Do you think you are to a deal?
Well, I don't want to say. I've been disappointed before with this one.
President Trump spoke to European leaders and Volodymyr Zelensky in a call on Wednesday. There has been some talk of a trilateral meeting with all three leaders happening at some point, but it looks for now as if Ukraine and its allies are being shut out of the talks. Penny Mourdant, do you fear that, again, Donald Trump is being played by Russia? It had looked like he was sort of prepared to stand up to Putin with this threat of sanctions. That deadline's come and gone. Nothing's really happened. Do you fear this is now catastrophic for Ukraine?
So I would say don't set deadlines unless you're prepared to stick to them. And I suspect that the reason why Putin has not been worried about meeting the president's deadline is because he's not too fussed about the consequences of that. And I think that if a meeting does go ahead, and clearly it will only go ahead if both parties want it to, then President Trump has to use it to do something really meaningful. And I think even in imposing sort of these limited secondary sanctions is not going to cause Putin much worries. He will find a way of weathering it. They are a fortress nation. They're always two steps ahead of any such initiative. So anything that Trump is going to do that is going to change the mindset of Putin has to be pretty direct.
Yeah, but do you see any prospect of that?
Well, I think that that President Trump has, in fairness to him, I think he has given Putin ample opportunity to do the right thing. And Putin has not taken any of those opportunities given to him, like the US. I think even the sanctions and the financial penalties that the US Senate has been pushing, I think now are not enough. And I think the only credible way through for President Trump, if he doesn't want a repeat of the criticism he had under the tariff hokey cokey and him chickening out and so forth, he now has to say enough is enough. Unless you come to the table, unless we find a way to create the conditions for this situation in Ukraine to end the illegal war initiated by Russia there to be ended, then we are going to really hit you where it hurts and have much more dramatic financial penalties that really will hit the Russian economy and cause Putin serious grief in a short space of time. That's the only option.
Diane, do you see any prospect that Trump will apply those sanctions that would really change the outcome of the war in Ukraine?
I worry that he would only use the sanctions to get Putin to the table. And of course, that really isn't satisfactory. I think the idea of peace talks without Zelensky being there, it sounds to me like the Versailles discussions after the First World War, where, certain states carved up other countries without those countries being represented there. So I worry that the threat of sanctions will only bring Putin to the table and not force him into some sort of compromise, because what we don't want is peace at any price. Trump says, which sounds very good, I just want to stop the killing, but it really can't be at the expense of a sovereign state and giving way to Russia's aggression, not just because Ukraine has lost so many people in this, but also for internationally. If we're going to allow autocrats with big armies to just go through people's borders, other countries' borders, this is really serious. And, my fear much more is that Trump will be so much wanting an agreement, he could go for a really bad agreement.
After a 10-hour Security Cabinet meeting, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's plan to expand his operation in Gaza was approved late last night. We know it involves taking control of Gaza City for the first time. Netanyahu spoke to Fox News before the meeting.
We don't want to govern it. We don't want to be there as a governing body. We want to hand it over to Arab forces that will govern it properly without threatening us and giving Gazans a good life. Look at what they're doing to our people, and they are really cruel to their own people, because when we try to take them away from the combat zones, they shoot them.
That's Benjamin Netanyahu speaking to Fox News. Sir Keir Starmer has said the decision he's made is wrong and has called on Israel to reconsider. Other European countries have also condemned the move, with Germany, previously a staunch supporter of Israel, suspending military aid that could be used in Gaza to the country until further notice. Vice President J.D. Vance said today that the first goal of the US is to make sure that Hamas cannot attack innocent Israeli citizens ever again. Dame Penny Mourdant first. Clearly you used to be Defence Secretary. You've been following this situation very closely, I know. Is Benjamin Netanyahu stretching your support, as he has been the support of many in Britain?
Well, I think every single action that Israel has taken since those attacks on October the 7th need to be looked through two lenses to make a judgment about whether they are a correct course of action. The first lens is that immediate security threat. How do you keep Israeli people safe? How do you stop Hamas attacking them as they did before? And secondly, how do you create those security guarantees over the long term? You can eradicate Hamas's immediate military capabilities, but unless you deal with their recruitment, the ideology, and all of that, you're not going to eradicate Hamas. And I think this latest action certainly is understandable when you look at it through that first lens. They are clearly trying to ensure that those attacks, that the military capability that Hamas has is completely eroded. But there are a lot of questions and uncertainties about it when you look through the second lens. What is the plan? There is currently no Arab state or coalition of Arab states that are chewing at the bit to come in and take over Gaza City. Those are the questions I think that really need to be answered, and that is what the international community can help do. Israel needs an answer to that question, and other people, including Britain, should be helping them find it. But the security issues of Israel have to be at the heart of this solution. Otherwise, it's not going to work.
Diane Hayter, Penny Mourdant, pretty measured there, pretty balanced. Do you think this is now Israel's action is beyond the pale?
I think it's wrong, and I think it's counterproductive, which is even more important, because I think what Penny said is right. This is a really, really difficult issue. You've got on the one side, you've got the Palestinians. They need food, they need homes, they want schools, they want hospitals, they want a Palestinian state, though some of them not alongside an Israeli state. And then you look at the other side, the Israelis who want their hostages back. And as Penny said, they also want guarantees that 7th of October won't happen. And I think the way to measure what the Israeli government is doing now does it bring any closer these two very, very different aspirations? Because some in Israel don't want to see a Palestinian state, though I think many do. But most Palestinians want to live in safety themselves and security. And the problem, I think, with what the Israelis are doing now, it makes any solution to this long-standing problem harder. It's making the Arab nations, who ought to be playing a big role, back off. It's making friends around Europe back off. So it's leaving Israel without that comfort zone of people who wish it well and wish the Palestinian people well,
But it's still got the
less friendly.
support of America, and that's really ultimately all that matters, isn't it?
Well, it has and it hasn't. I mean, it's been interesting some of the comments that Trump's made about, the whether people are starving there. We don't really know. We don't know what exactly is said. Penny will be much more expert than I am about what exactly gets said behind very closed doors than what's in front of them. We don't know exactly whether that support is absolutely without any conditions on it, or if Trump really does want, as we believe he does want, to see the end of starvation and the increasing production of all sorts of aid, he may not be as fully supportive as perhaps all the Israelis would like America to be.